I mean, I might have to come up with this chest workout on the fly. 'Cause, I forget we got some new stuff to play with.
Actually, like flesh your back.
Yeah, I did hamstrings in here a couple days ago. And I take the peak and all, man. That's a good equipment. Let me see. I didn't actually look at the chest stuff though. All right, guys. So today I'm gonna go through a little chest workout at the same time do a little Q&A. I posted one on Instagram. I actually had a good amount of questions, probably 30 some by the end of it. Narrowed it down to about 20 some of them because I feel like some of them were just like those generic questions. But I felt like some of them were also good ones, so I just kept it in. We are also sitting 3 weeks out from USA's. Sorry, I confused you for a second. 3 weeks out from USA's. Been doing obviously my own diet since the first show. Today I ended up waking up at 218.6, so I'm already like within a few pounds of being at my lightest. And I'm going very subjective, not going off a feel. So if I end up dropping, because I dropped about almost 3 pounds yesterday, but I did sleep a lot. So if I end up dropping anything close to that tonight again, I'm gonna probably do a refeed tomorrow, carb up. Even though conditioning is a priority, my body's reacting very fast. My body's in a good spot. I also had taken a break from some of the orals after the DJ, so I went like really minimal on the gear. Took the orals out, took a break from all that, and only gained, you see, about 6.5 pounds during that period. And like I said, I'm already back down to what I was lighter even leading into DJ, or about to be. So, good spot. All right, for one of the first questions I'm gonna go with, just because I think it actually relates to what I was gonna go into anyways. How was this prep differently from last when it comes to drugs, food, and training? When it comes to food, this is probably the most I've ever been able to eat and get this lean. Just recently, I dropped my carbs to around 150 now. I've been doing that about 5. This is the 6th day, so that's pretty low. But I haven't had to go much lower than that. I have veins coming through my midsection, all that. It's a good sign. Cardio is at 80 minutes, but it's all just steady state. I'm trying to keep my legs fresh. I'm draining them out too much. My legs are obviously very easily, they get flattened out very easily. So I'm trying to make sure I avoid that. Training, big credit to Dom. I have to still give him that. My training's a lot smarter now. I'm a lot more efficient with it. I'm a lot better with my recovery. I'm just saying my body feels a lot healthier. So right now, that's another benefit. I don't feel tired whatsoever. I feel like I can keep going. But USA, I told myself, is the last show this season, regardless of what happens. Just to cap it off, as in, like, I don't want to keep pushing like anymore necessarily. I just got my hair done. Obviously, there's certain compounds that I'm taking that could put me at risk. I've been good so far, but the longer you take it, prolong it, the more you put yourself at risk. I'm going to get my blood work pretty much like a month after all this, just to make sure we'll see where I'm at. Overall, always been pretty healthy, but you got to check as you get older, make sure all that's in check. And then the last portion of it was the drugs. This has also been the least I've ever taken. I just recently bumped it up. Now I'm taking, I've been doing daily dosage, microdosing, but recently I just bumped it up on yesterday to 40 milligrams of test prop daily, 20 milligrams of Tren, 20 milligrams of Masteron prop daily. So I'm taking about, 280 tests, 140 Tren, 140 Masteron weekly. I had orals yesterday, 50 Anavar, 50 Winstrol milligrams, Clinton as well, 40 MCGs. That's all I'm taking right now. Obviously a good amount of compounds, but all pretty relatively low dosages, except for maybe the orals. But the Winstrol's been just added in now, and I only took it prior to that for maybe about a 16, 17 day span. So it's gonna be a total of maybe a month and a half on some of these orals. It's a very minimal time. I already bumped that up. Ooh. Let's go for a fly variation. Most of these aren't this long. I'm gonna try to get the level in the beginning, so it's just, I think it's better to knock those out. So this next one is, how do you truly feel about being a bodybuilder in terms of sacrifices the sport takes, Better said, how do you handle them sacrificing all the moments with friends, family, etc. I mean, everyone knows obviously when it comes to bodybuilding, it takes a level of selfishness to be good at it pretty much. Like you have to revolve your life around this stuff. I tell people in the last year and a half where I made most of my progress, it's probably due to me being the most selfish I've ever been, where again, I'm just focused on this. My life revolves around training, like meals. It doesn't mean you can't have fun, doesn't mean you can't be with friends or family. But what just tends to happen is if you do that stuff, it tends to kind of divert you or take you from being 100% on the rest of it. So for example, you go out with friends and family, say you go out with friends the night before, you have a few drinks. You can do that, but then most likely the next day when you wake up, you're gonna be either maybe hungover, but your appetite might not be as good, your hydration is gonna be off. All of a sudden you're kind of behind on the ball when someone else who's just been doing what they're supposed to be doing is getting ahead now, you know? So when it comes to that, this game, it all takes just small little steps to add up. Small every day adds up to obviously the bigger picture. So I mean, how do I feel about it? I mean, it sucks, all of it. I mean, there's no going around it. You get used to it. And you have family and your close ones. They understand it as well. Most of them do from my from my situation. Luckily, I also try to make sure my people feel like, or not feel that I explain to them, you know, what's going on, why it's like that way, not me just shutting off and not saying anything. You know, so if you're a competitor out there, you're doing this lifestyle, just try to make sure you at least acknowledge it, let them know about it. You know, you have your off seasons where you're a little bit more free, have a little bit more freedom to do stuff. And that's when you want to, you know, give back to them and give back to your people that care about you and help you and take care of you when you're in your season, you know. So, all right. What would you say is the biggest factor when it comes to success in bodybuilding? I found this one because I thought it's obviously something that kind of cues off of the last one. So it's just consistency, letting the days add up, making sure you get all your meals in, get your training in, get your recovery. Once all those weeks and months add up, you're going to see that's when you make the biggest progress, regardless of your genetics. That's where you're going to see the leaps and bounds happen. I mean, so I would say too, when it comes to some of it, you're just going to have to kind of go through it. And what I mean by that is you're not necessarily just going to start off really good and be able to just knock on days in a row. You're going to get better at doing certain things with more time. Like your training, I can say I wasn't like I was training horribly when I got started, but the more I got into it, I learned how to move my body or position myself in certain ways to get that feeling on the muscle I'm trying to train, you know? So some of that stuff is just going to happen over time. You're going to get better at it. And again, it's going to add up. The more consistency, the more progress. Let's knock out two real quick with this one. If there was one thing you can change about bodybuilding or competitions, what would it be? It's a good one. Some days I wish I would have thought about it a little before. I did when I saw these, but then I saved them. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay, there is. When it comes to competitions, what I would say is I wish there was a way that, like the judging and the scorecards and all that, and like we see it at the end who placed first, second, how they scored it. But I wish there was a way they could categorize it like conditioning, shape, muscularity, and then they give you points for each one. So then like we didn't have to go ask for feedback. We could just look at our scorecard at the end of it and be like, oh, they gave me a 3 out of 6 for conditioning, so I gotta get way sharper. 5 out of 6 for muscularity, I'm kind of good there, you know. And depending on your classes, obviously there's different metrics. But I mean, again, it'd be a simple solution. Kind of like the whole classic height cutoff thing. There's some of these things that be simple solutions, you know, just throw the height on the NPC card. We don't have to keep getting height every show. Because I used to be about under 6'1" when I was bald, and now I'm not. I'm almost 6'2", so. Least favorite thing about bodybuilding, if any? For me, I'd say personally, be that's just having to eat so much and keep up with the food all the time. Like, I guess I'm kind of a big eater. If it's, you know, obviously like all of us, if it's junk shit we like. But when it's eating chicken and rice, ground turkey and rice, eggs and rice all the time, it gets tiring. And the reason I tell people you gotta eat the same stuff consistently, it benefits you because your digestion gets used to it. You're able to break through it a lot faster. And when you're supposed to eat, you're supposed to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Again, you eat something that's a little heavier and denser, you probably won't be hungry by then. You're forcing stuff down. All of a sudden, you're behind the ball when it comes to eating. So that's for me, my personally least favorite about bodybuilding is the food. and not be able to get away from it, really. How many times a week should I hit a significantly smaller body part than the rest of my body? I guess there's a couple different variables to it, but what I would say is you do probably want to train more often, but if you're going to do that, you have to find, for example, legs. So for me, my legs are always kind of a weakness. And what I found kind of was successful for me at one point was splitting up different portions of my legs, so focusing on one day, a lot of heavy knee flexion, quad movements, one next one, a lot of hip flexion, throwing some glutes in there, splitting it apart, so instead of you trying to focus on, let me train my legs all in one session, which you potentially could, your body takes a lot more time to recover from. You're gonna be a lot more delayed. You focus just on quads, you just hit hamstrings 2 days later, you can hit them glutes or whatever with a little bit of quads a week later. Your recovery is just gonna be a lot more efficient that way. That's what I would recommend. Obviously your nutrition has to be on point, all the other stuff, you're sleeping, all that, etc. But if all that is good, then just, I would say split it up. Let's do one more. Which compound is giving you the worst mental side effects or any side effects in general? Okay, so I was talking a little bit about earlier, probably like the hair loss. When some of us, genetically, if you're prone to stuff, some things are just be accelerated. For me, I was given that by my family. Shout out to my mom. Usually it's your mom's side that gives you that as a guy. So for me, it was that. I luckily have good response to like my blood work, my cholesterol, all that stuff. Probably because my family before me all ate pretty bad and they had decent blood work. But for me, that's that. Mental side effects. They could all, I want to just blame one, I guess. But I guess if one was the harshest, that was a Trent, for sure. Trent tends to be this, like, magnifies these things about you. I don't think it makes things up, but if you're someone that's already a little aggressive, someone that's pretty horny, someone that's already pretty savage and crazy, it's going to make those things come out a little more out of you. So just be cautious with Trent specifically. Biggest goal in bodybuilding. I think kind of for all of us, it would be obviously make it to our Super Bowl of bodybuilding, which is the Olympia. Obviously, that's definitely a goal of mine, but one step at a time. So for me, the next step and goal is my pro card. We'll obviously see what happens at USA's. That's the first thing I got to focus on. Regardless, like I said earlier, it's going to be the end of my season at USA's. I will shut it down for another probably at least 12, 15 months. It's going to allow me to narrow my cap even more. Like I said, me weighing as low as I am right now, I know I still have room to grow even on the amateur side. Still want to bring up the legs more, chest more. If I can bring that up and still get closer, so it's going to benefit me regardless if I get my pro card now, or if I shut it down, like I said, and go at it next year again. So, what's been your best day so far this year? That's a good one. I'd just say maybe it's like freshest in my head, but it was probably like the Slash competition. It was weird, as shitty as it's not shitty, but obviously as the placing wasn't what I wanted. It was overall still a really, really good time, and I realized that that's probably one of the first times ever in my life, in my career, that the placing didn't affect the way I felt. I felt good. Like after the show, I know there's things like me and John talked about immediately, like, hey, we could do this, we could do that, and it wasn't the way that I was salty. It was just more like, dude, we did a good job. Like let's change some of these things up, and it's going to get better. Conditioning was very significantly improved in that 2-week span, which I knew I had more time to also get better for USA's. My body reacts fast to it. It's just about not letting it get too far, where then if I flatten out too much, I can't eat up and carb up. Again, because that's what we've noticed. I'm prejudging. I'm still a little flat, not horrendous or anything, but there's still some room to grow. All right, some people that DM me some stuff. Naomi is one of them. Shout out to Naomi. I was like, these people do not get the thing. It's right there, but whatever. I saved them anyways on my notes. One of them was, any advice for first-time competitors? Keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate it when it comes to all of it in general. Dieting, just keep cutting food slowly. If you're not getting leaner, you got to keep doing more. If you get to a point where food's already pretty low, you got to up the cardio. Don't rely on drugs. I tell people it's not like, I've done it without this and that. It's about your first show.
not getting all the side effects, not risking all kinds of shit just to get your feet wet. Get your feet wet, see if you like it, then the other stuff will come along. So keep that stuff minimal. Again, I guess that's in my opinion. Some people don't agree with that. And also hire somebody or work with somebody that you could trust. Doesn't have to be a big time name person, but someone that you've been following or has a history or has a number of people that they've proven it with. I have a lot of people that I've seen my team obviously they worked with, and that's the reason why my team has grown a lot. They've all kind of referred them to me. They're all kind of known each other. That's kind of I've grown my name in business. So it says just don't worry about big names. Just work with somebody that you see kind of works with different types of people and does a good job at it. What got you into bodybuilding? I guess got me into bodybuilding was I was first just wanting to get into shape, and then I met somebody who was a coach at my local gym that told me, hey, you should compete. She meant men's physique because there's only men's physique and bodybuilding at the time. I jumped into bodybuilding not knowing what I was doing, but I ended up liking it anyways. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Classic physique came down the line, way further down, and that was when I was like, okay, this makes way more sense for me. So yeah, I guess that's what got me into it, and now kind of my life, my business, all of it revolves around it. So smooth. You would think with all this stuff sitting in storage, it might be a little rusty. One thing you can't survive without. Probably the gym. Probably would feel very weird if I didn't do this bodybuilding stuff, not working out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just probably gonna change obviously the way I train. Ever since I've been in the gym, I've needed it. It's like I enjoy it a lot, not only for the mental, but just body feels better. Be able to eat more and get away with it, and I doesn't get fat and out of shape. So a lot of pros to it. No, you want kids eventually. It's another good one. It's not bodybuilding related. I guess kind of is, because I've had to be smart about that too. So for me personally, I've always stayed on top of it by just getting checked. But do I want kids eventually? Absolutely. That's the reason why I've always stayed on top of that. So you just never know. When it comes to bodybuilding, it's more like it shuts you off while you're like on it for most of us on cycle and stuff like that. But it could also, longer you're kind of in this sport, it can push that away. So you got to check your fertility. You got to make sure all that's in check. Because even though your sex drive isn't affected, doesn't mean you're fertile. So those are two different things. So don't just go off of that. Make sure, like say, you stay on top of it. Get checked every once in a while. Especially if that's even just a small possibility. If it's like a 1%, which for me, funny enough, that's kind of what it was when I was doing it back then. As I've gotten older, it's changed to I do. I've even told it to people I know personally. Like I got maybe 4 or 5 more years in this sport. And not just because I think it's bad for you or bad for your health, whatever, because I think there's a way you could do it where it isn't or necessarily as bad. But for me, I also just want to put other focus and shifts to other things. By that point, I'm going to be in my mid-30s. So I just want to prioritize other things. I think because of his lifestyle, it's also kept me from, other things in life. So I want to be able to enjoy those things. And in another 4 or 5 years, regardless of what's going on in my career, done. Let's get another non-bodybuilding one before I get a set. Have you ever cheated? You got to be honest. Yes, I'll just keep it at that. We were all young, we were all stupid, so shit happens, unfortunately. It's just about hopefully you learn from it, you get better from it. Because honestly, you keep doing it, you're just a piece of shit. I don't care what you say. If you're doing it and you're like cheating, as in like the person obviously doesn't know and you're hiding it from it. If it's an open relationship, whatever, that's obviously okay. But if you're cheating, you're constantly fucking someone up, you're messing with somebody, that's the part that's fucked up. But yeah, I've done it. I've learned from it. That's the one thing I obviously talked about in the past in these YouTube videos. I made sure that part of me I've been able to control now, which is something I felt like also deterred me from my competition career in the past, is being focused on other things that don't benefit me, so. Oh, moly. Are you close with your parents? So keep it non-bodybuilding related. This was a good one just because obviously I feel like it gives a little in-depth about me. Close to both my parents. Obviously, I think when you were raised Hispanic or Latino, however you want to call it, it's it's like two different roles. Like my dad was very much the macho, brothel man, gave me the tough love all the time, kind of pushed me, like if I fell and ate shit, kind of told me to get the fuck up, type deal. My mom was the other way around. She was a nurturer. She was like, pick me up, kiss me where I got boo-boo and shit. So it was very balanced for me. I had both worlds. It's a good thing. Now that I'm older, my mom's still like that, funny enough, but my dad is a little bit more on the softer side. He's not as rough around the edges, but I think that's because he's old now, so he probably finally softened up a bit. My little sister probably played a role in that as well. And I guess I'll talk about my siblings. I have two siblings as well. I have a little brother, little sister, close to both of them as well. They're growing up, so they each have their own lives, but we talk plenty. They went to my show. Surprised with my little brother because he's a busy-ass kid. He got a lot going on, but I know he tries to really stay on top. I think he watches the YouTube, so shout out to my siblings and my parents. Let's see, one more question actually is, let's do a bodybuilding one real quick. If I can find one. Bodybuilders that inspire you. Because I don't really have necessarily like, well, I do. People that inspire me is more in like what they've been able to do with their brands, their names. So I do acknowledge some people I look up to. Obviously, everyone knows I have Cam Flores. One of the people and coaches I always kind of looked up to is Matt Jensen and Cam Jensen. Not that I got that from him, I kid you not. I got Cam Flores because we grew up playing sports. You go to camps. So I was in Camp Blair, Camp Olson, when Lute Olson was the coach down in Arizona. So those things just kind of stuck with me, and that's why I thought of that. And then John behind the camera is the one that made the logo, so shout out to him. And then when it comes to athletes, I would say I'm a big fan of like C-Bum, obviously. It's pretty badass to see everything he's done from where he started. Obviously just up and coming classic physique guy, and then became the superstar that pretty much the whole fucking world knows now at this point. And then I'd say probably like local people or people I know personally. Probably one of my homies, Emmanuel Cuban Flex. We just stay in touch just here and there, but just watching him when he goes through is pretty badass.
That's too light,
how much
but
he's
feels
been
awesome.
able to come up. I even told him to his face, I was like, man, this last physique, not only were you like the biggest there, but like the most conditioned. I don't think I've ever seen someone improve on like both those metrics in that period of time. It's just pretty ridiculous. But yeah, shout out to him. So.
Are you judgmental?
Depends. Because it depends what the fuck you're doing, because I'll judge the shit out of you. But I'm just kidding. No, I mean, overall, no, I don't think I am. Like, I'm gonna probably have an opinion in my head, or maybe I'll talk to my close friends about it. But I won't judge you enough where I don't like this person because so and so. And I mean, you suck dick for money, you whatever. I don't care, man. That's your thing. Will I maybe put you in a certain category as well because of certain things? Absolutely, but that's kind of normal too. Like, if you met someone you knew was a thief and they got busted like 5 fucking times for stealing, like, you're probably gonna feel a little weird with your stuff around them. I mean, asshole, but they just showed a history of that. Same thing about the thing earlier, a cheater. You start dating a cheater, you're probably gonna feel a little iffy about it, So, again, it just depends what. I think you gotta then keep certain boundaries, but overall, no, I don't think so. Because I feel like, I guess, like, when you say judgmental, I feel like that would mean as in, I wouldn't ever want to be around this person, they're a piece of shit, things like that. Obviously with my faith as well, when it comes to Christianity, there's certain things that think people I'm like that, but I'm not. It's, you live your own life and just don't hurt people, don't, things like that, so I'll view it. I'm not one to judge as in like, whatever happens after this life, whatever you believe, I'm not gonna, it is what it is. So I'll cut it there because that's always sensitive subject. That's usually why I avoid it. A lot of people that message me on social media, I'll talk a little bit about it, I guess, so then that way there's at least some YouTube content about it. People will be like, oh, how do you take steroids and call you're a Christian, or how do you do this and that and call yourself a Christian? They don't see like the inner work and the other things that I've done to make sure I'm actually a better human being. Sure, you can look at bodybuilding as I'm doing something that could potentially hurt my health down the line. I'm doing things to check myself currently so things don't happen to me. But again, I don't know if I'm taking years on the back end. I'd be naive to say no, I'm not. But I'm doing the things that make me an overall better person. That I try to bring people up around me. I try to make them better. I try to hold them accountable. I hold myself accountable. Those things to me is what matters. Those things I think will then decide what happens to you on the afterlife. I don't think it necessarily is because I take a little bit of this or because I smoke a little bit of weed. I'm going to hell. Regardless if you look at it as devil's lettuce or not. Those are not to me the things that make you a horrible person. If you're out fucking hurting people and this and that, that's a whole different category, So that's my opinion. Obviously, everybody feel about it how it is, but that's kind of why I don't, I keep that subject away. And I only talk to people who are close to me. They know how I feel about it. No doubt about it. My family, close friends, There's no, oh, I'm keeping it to myself. It just, because I know it's a sensitive subject, it's kind of like the they, them topics, pronouns and all that. I try to just stay away from it because overall I know it just can get you into trouble. But in to each their own, like I said, it doesn't hurt me. So if that's what you believe, all right, cool. That's not what I believe. So. I think this one honestly was probably like the last time I put it up. I don't think I answered it. I might have, so if I did, my fault. But that was pretty funny. Have you ever cried during a movie? So obviously I have. I'm a pretty emotional person, not gonna lie. But not in a bad way. I wasn't like fucking weeping my eyes out or anything. But I'll have a couple tears coming rolling down my face. You know, even I mean I go to service. Even 80% of the time I have like tears running down my face. But in a way where I'm very appreciative, very like happy. It's not any type of sad feelings. Not like, oh my god, you know, or I don't know. So it's all just it kind of hits me. It's very surreal. I feel like most of us when we go through the week, we're so busy. We have so much going on that we don't realize kind of how, you know, how good of a spot, how good of a life we have it. You know. So I think when I get to church, I'm in service, and you're just listening to worship music, and you're around that. It just I feel gratitude. There you go. That was the word I was trying to think of earlier. It just hits me, you know, like a fucking storm. So. Biggest accomplishment in bodybuilding or your career / coaching? I don't think I necessarily accomplished anything, as in like when it comes to competing. Don't get me wrong, some class wins, some overalls I've had, it's great and cool and all, but to me it's nothing. It's all just, I feel like we're all the same when we're amateurs, you know? So when you get to the pros, that's when things I think become differentiate you as an athlete, in my opinion. So to me, I think it's kind of what I built with my team. Talking about earlier, we have a nice wide variety. I don't necessarily attract just one type of person. As you see, I have all these different ethnicities. Shout out to Naomi again. We actually were talking about this a couple weeks back. I was like, it's pretty funny that, you know, she's Filipino, John's Filipino, but I have like a white person, I have a black kid, I have a, you know, I have a mix, you know, Mexican like me, and it's not necessarily because of like one thing. I think it's just the way I'm open to different things and like working with different people, and I think people have seen that, and I would say that's for sure my biggest accomplishment personally. Been able to build a business that I think most people would say it's decent, you know, it's something that's pretty credible. I feel like most people look at me even as a coach, and he's pretty solid. You know, I'm not just a newbie anymore. I've been doing this for a while, so I would say for sure that is my biggest accomplishment so far. Make sure I reiterate that part. All right, this is a little bit, I guess, could go both life and bodybuilding. What would you rate your 2023 so far? A 9 out of 10, to be honest. Not even being cheesy or anything. So the only thing I would say is that would change is maybe it doesn't have to do with bodybuilding. It's just some decisions I made when it comes to some life, I guess, friendships and stuff you could say, when it comes to the way I handled it. Obviously I wanted to do better, but I feel those things happen. They taught me a lesson. The first show obviously was rough when it comes to just conditioning and the way the peak went. A lot of things just went south. My sleep, a lot of things again just really bad. So that show I almost just want to throw in the back of my mind, pretend like it didn't happen, but at the same time it did show me a few things that then made me also approach Dennis James a little differently, which now both of those information gathered will now make me approach the next show differently. Because that's all this is when it comes to peaking guys and shows. You have to learn how to do different things. If you include diuretics, no diuretics, your body's gonna respond way different. I learned that over the years. I've had one show where I've taken a diuretic and it completely flattened me out. Where like I was eating a stupid amount of carbs, like 1,000 grams back-to-back days and nothing. But again, if you don't know that, and then you don't know some of the adverse effects of a diuretic, it's just not gonna help. So you get me sit in. This is an interesting one too. Your worst personality characteristic. Obviously, it has to do a lot. You have the inner work, and for me, I guess it could be good and bad. And then the people that know me personally, or that know me just pretty slightly, know I'm kind of like that. That could be like an emotionally driven person. You know, both good and bad. You know, sometimes for the people that I work with, if it pushes them, makes them feel good about it. And it can be vice versa. I work with people that are a little too sensitive, a little too, don't like that about me. They think I'm a little too aggressive or whatever. But it's just kind of how I am. That's probably my worst. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but one of my characteristics. Talked about earlier, my dad being the rough guy and all that. That's kind of how I was overall raised. My dad was, like the tough guy. So I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing. Just how I saw how men kind of treated other men. So.
Better than being aware of it than not being aware.
Yeah, no, I know, but no. We all have our flaws, and that's just one of them. I'm not saying that's the only one, but that's kind of the first one that comes to my head. What? I guess let's go. Might as well answer it. Like I said, I lost track of these, so I'm just kind of opening them now again. What split would you recommend to someone who's just starting off in the gym? I don't think necessarily one split that's like the most beneficial or whatever. I think if you're a newbie, you're best off just kind of following kind of the bro split, which is hitting a little bit of everything. As you're into it more and more, you get more seasoned. You'll find out which body parts respond a little better than others, and that's when you'll have to adapt. It's as simple as that. My shoulders kind of were a body part that grew a little easier than others. So I don't have a shoulder day. I haven't had a shoulder day now. I throw it in every once in a while, but I haven't had a legit shoulder in my routine for probably about a year now. But again, that's because my body, I responds well. My pressing movements, running movements. Might be because I'm doing something wrong, but they were just responding with doing some of that stuff. So again, I would recommend that. Just start with something basic. Keep going with it. You see how your body reacts, then change it. Same thing with food. That's what I tell people. Don't make it too complicated. You eat the same shit all day. It's okay. You always want to enjoy it to a degree. But by you eating the same stuff all the time, you're going to know exactly how your body responds, and then you can slowly add to it and change things up as you're cutting down, as you're bulking up. That's what I tell my client. I look at their meal plans as a numbers game. I try to simplify it. When I'm giving them a surplus, I'll throw in a mixture of like fruit, some free carbs, some rice and potatoes, some complex carbs. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's all junk, but when you're eating so much food, you got to be able to have some enjoyment out of it and some way to be able to stay consistent and overall just be able to get a total amount of calories, not just, eating shit you don't want all the time. Whew. Oh yeah. She's a pump. Let's go check out the locker room. So last question to cap off this Q&A. Biggest goal, or probably I meant in general for 2023, but they put bodybuilding, so I'll go to answer it both ways. For bodybuilding, obviously, going for my pro card into July, that would be the ultimate goal. But we never know what happens, who shows up. So for me, it's to finally at least be able to present a package that's fully what I wanted. This last one was pretty close to that. I think me and John were able to get about 85% of my best capabilities of what I have with right now. So I want to be able to say at USA's, I presented 100% of my best. I peaked, I was full, everything went well. So then whatever happens after that, I can hang my hat on that. Because again, we don't know if some freak shows up. I already know a couple of guys in my class through social media that are super gifted and just want it just as bad as me. So, it all depends what happens on show day. And I at least want me to say that. And then for life and just 2023 and personal stuff would be to keep growing my business. The last couple of months, because I have been in prep, I haven't been able to focus as much. I'm building that up. I've had my squad. I've let my team that's remained, and I've been able to maintain about 30-some athletes kind of throughout this whole time anyways. But I haven't been able to put priority in growing it, making the rest of my team better, things like that. So after this show, that's what I'm putting priority in to the next 12, 15 months. Just making camp floors, making the squad, growing this YouTube. I have some pretty cool things I want to do for like training and stuff like that. And having a fresher mind, having a fresher body out of prep is going to help. Those are the biggest goals for 2023, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. And next video will be a little update for you guys and a little surprise. So keep watching.